This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to today's Roundup. We are diving into a packed slate of sports news, from baseball diamonds to the NBA hardwood and the future of the NFL. Let's get right into the headlines.
Shohei Ohtani dominates the Mets with a pitching-only focus.
Chris Paul trolls the Clippers after their play-in exit.
A new mock draft projects 12 quarterbacks going early.
The Suns and Warriors prepare for a high-stakes showdown.
Stephen Curry leads a massive comeback against the Clippers.
Carlo Ancelotti seeks political advice regarding Neymar's future role.
LaMelo Ball faces scrutiny after Bam Adebayo's play-in injury.
The Battle of Pennsylvania ignites the NHL playoff schedule.
Starting with the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani just reminded everyone why he is a generational talent, but this time, he did it by doing less. In an 8-2 victory over the New York Mets, Ohtani focused exclusively on his pitching, and the results were spectacular. He struck out 10 batters over 6 innings, allowing only 2 hits and 1 earned run. Manager Dave Roberts made the strategic call to give Ohtani a rest from his hitting duties, believing that channeling all his energy into one discipline would help him find his rhythm. It clearly worked, as Ohtani looked more focused and composed than he has in several recent outings, where he seemed to be fighting himself on the mound.
It is an interesting tactical shift for the Dodgers. While Ohtani has proven he can handle the workload of a two-way player, Roberts noted that the 5th inning against the Mets got a little wonky before Ohtani reined it back in. By not having to worry about his plate appearances, he had the mental capacity to reset and dominate the 6th. Fans shouldn't worry about this becoming a permanent change, though. Roberts confirmed that Ohtani will be back in the lineup as the designated hitter for Friday's series opener against the Rockies. The medical staff also gave him a clean bill of health regarding his shoulder, which is great news after he was hit by a pitch earlier in the week.
Moving to NBA drama. Chris Paul might be retired, but he still knows how to stir the pot. After the Los Angeles Clippers were eliminated in the play-in tournament by the Golden State Warriors, Paul took to Instagram to troll his former team. It was a bold move considering his own tenure with the Clippers ended on such a sour note just a few months ago. Paul was traded to Toronto in December 2025 after a breakdown in communication with head coach Ty Lue and reported clashes over his leadership style. Seeing the Clippers blow a 13-point lead and get shut down in the fourth quarter clearly gave the future Hall of Famer some satisfaction as he watches from the sidelines.
The irony here is thick, because Paul's best years were actually spent with the Clippers, where he averaged nearly 19 points and 10 assists over 7 seasons. However, that legacy seems tarnished by the way things ended this year, with the team essentially sending him home during a road trip before the trade. The Clippers' collapse against the Warriors was particularly brutal, as they held Kawhi Leonard scoreless in the fourth quarter until the final seconds. For Paul, who retired in mid-February after 21 seasons, this social media jab feels like a final word on a relationship that went completely off the rails. It adds another layer of bitterness to a franchise that is currently reeling from a disappointing exit.
Next, the NFL Draft. The 2026 NFL Draft is fast approaching, and the quarterback market is looking incredibly crowded. According to a new mock draft from Sporting News, we could see 12 quarterbacks selected over the 7 rounds in Pittsburgh. At the very top, Indiana's Fernando Mendoza is projected to go number 1 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. Mendoza is a massive prospect at 6'5", coming off a season where he threw for over 3,500 yards and 41 touchdowns. Pairing him with a veteran like Kirk Cousins could give the Raiders a perfect bridge to a franchise future. It is a high-stakes move for a team desperate to find a long-term solution at the most important position in sports.
Beyond the first pick, the draft gets really interesting with names like Ty Simpson and Diego Pavia. Simpson, the Alabama standout, is projected as a high second-round pick for the Arizona Cardinals. He has the physical tools and has drawn comparisons to Mac Jones, but scouts note he still needs time to develop his accuracy. Then you have Pavia, the Heisman runner-up from Vanderbilt, who brings a different kind of playmaking energy to the table. This class is unique because it sits right before the 2027 draft, which is expected to be legendary with names like Arch Manning. Teams have to decide if they want to strike now or wait for that next wave of talent, making every pick this April crucial.
Turning to the Suns, the Phoenix Suns are staring down a do-or-die scenario this Friday as they prepare to face the Golden State Warriors for the final playoff spot in the West. After a disappointing loss to Portland, the Suns find themselves in a position where their entire season comes down to 48 minutes. History is technically on their side, as most teams in the 7-8 matchup eventually advance, but the Warriors have been a nightmare for Phoenix this year. Golden State won 3 out of their 4 regular season meetings, including a late-season collapse by the Suns in February. Phoenix has struggled significantly since the All-Star break, and their offense has plummeted to 28th in the league, leaving fans worried about which version of the team will show up.
The biggest concern for Phoenix is that the Warriors have the ultimate trump card in Stephen Curry. We just saw him take over the game against the Clippers, and when the game tightens up, there is nobody more dangerous. The Suns have been plagued by late-game execution issues all year, which is exactly where Curry and Draymond Green excel. Both teams are actually searching for a rhythm, with the Warriors also struggling recently, but Golden State seems to have found a spark at the right time. It is going to be a battle of nerves at the Mortgage Matchup Center. If the Suns can't find a way to limit Curry's impact in the fourth quarter, their championship aspirations will end much earlier than anyone expected.
More on the Warriors. Golden State's victory over the Clippers was a masterclass in veteran resilience. Stephen Curry was absolutely electric, scoring 27 of his 35 points in the second half to erase a 13-point deficit. But he wasn't alone in this effort. Al Horford, at 39 years old, hit 4 massive three-pointers during the fourth quarter comeback, proving that experience matters more than ever in the postseason. The Warriors finished the game on a 16-6 run, completely stifling the Clippers' offense when it mattered most. This win is even more impressive when you consider the Warriors went 37-45 in the regular season and have been playing without Jimmy Butler since January. They are now just 1 win away from a full playoff berth.
The Clippers, on the other hand, are facing a long offseason after missing the playoffs for the first time since 2022. Despite 23 points from Benedict Mathurin and a solid effort from Darius Garland, they simply couldn't stop the barrage from Curry and Kristaps Porzingis. Curry's performance was particularly special because he only recently returned from a 27-game absence due to a knee injury. He scored 16 points in just 6 minutes during the third quarter to keep the Warriors within striking distance. Now, they carry all that momentum into Phoenix. If Curry can maintain this level of play, the Warriors are going to be a very dangerous 8th seed for whoever has to face them in the first round of the actual playoffs.
Shifting to international soccer, in a truly bizarre turn of events, Brazil's head coach, Carlo Ancelotti, has consulted the country's president, Lula, regarding Neymar's inclusion in the 2026 World Cup squad. This isn't just a sports story anymore. It has become a matter of state importance. President Lula revealed the conversation during a live broadcast, noting that Ancelotti wanted to gauge the public and political appetite for the star's return. Lula's advice was blunt. If Neymar is physically fit and actually wants to play, he has the talent, but he cannot expect to be picked based on his name alone. He pointed to legends like Messi and Ronaldo as examples of professionals who maintained their standards well into their 30s to stay relevant on the international stage.
Ancelotti is clearly trying to manage the immense pressure that comes with coaching the Salauco. He has publicly stated that reputation won't secure a spot on the plane to North America, especially since Neymar is still recovering from a major knee surgery. While Neymar has started scoring goals again for Santos, Ancelotti insists he needs to see consistent fitness and professionalism over the next 2 months. Santos is currently working on a specific roadmap to get their talisman back to peak condition, but the ultimatum is clear. The Brazilian Football Confederation is watching closely, and while the president's input is unusual, it highlights just how much the nation's hopes are still tied to Neymar, for better or for worse.
Back to NBA controversy. The play-in game between the Heat and the Hornets was an instant classic, but it was overshadowed by a controversial injury to Bam Adebayo. Early in the second quarter, LaMelo Ball appeared to trip Adebayo after a drive to the basket, causing the Heat star to fall hard and exit the game with a lower back injury. Heat coach Erik Spoelstra was visibly frustrated after the game, noting that losing their defensive anchor in an elimination game was a massive blow. While Ball apologized and claimed he was disoriented after being hit in the head, video angles have sparked a heated debate. Some fans see a deliberate trip, while others see a player flailing while complaining for a foul call.
The real question now is whether the NBA will step in with a suspension. The Hornets are scheduled to play for the 8th seed on Friday, and losing Ball would almost certainly end their season. However, since no foul was called on the floor, a suspension would be highly unusual according to league precedent. A fine seems more likely, but that won't do much to appease the Heat, who had to play the majority of their biggest game without their best interior defender. Adebayo only logged 11 minutes before being ruled out, and his absence was felt in every facet of the game. It is a messy situation that leaves a cloud over Charlotte's potential playoff run and raises questions about player safety.
Finally, the NHL playoffs. Hockey fans are getting a dream matchup in the first round as the Penguins and Flyers prepare for the Battle of Pennsylvania. These two rivals split their 4 regular season meetings, though the Flyers' victories both came in shootouts. On paper, the Penguins have been more dominant, outscoring Philly 16-9 across those games. But the postseason is a different animal entirely. The Flyers are coming in with a ton of momentum after a thrilling clinch in their final regular season game. Pittsburgh will hold the home ice advantage for games 1 and 2, but in a rivalry this intense, the venue often takes a back seat to the sheer physicality and history between these two storied franchises. It is going to be a grueling series.
The ticket market is already reflecting the hype, with get-in prices starting around $200 on StubHub. Fans are desperate to see this series live, especially with the schedule set to begin as early as Saturday. While the exact bracket will be finalized after tonight's games, the focus is already on how the Flyers' speed will match up against the Penguins' veteran experience. Pittsburgh has the edge in scoring depth, but Philly has shown they can hang tough and win the close, ugly games. If this series goes to 6 or 7 games, expect those ticket prices to skyrocket. It is exactly the kind of high-intensity matchup the NHL needs to kick off what promises to be an incredible run for the Stanley Cup.
That wraps up our briefing for today. Make sure to follow the show for your next daily update on the stories that matter most. We will see you back here tomorrow.